It's a brand new day and another edition of the Economy and Politics Show on this Tuesday, July 28, 2020, as the political economic watch and conversation continues in Nigeria. Here's a lineup for this edition. We'll continue with the global COVID-19 index. We'll bring you process charting a pathway for the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria. The National Bureau of Statistics released Nigeria's value-added tax collection for first half of the year 2020. We'll bring you insights from it. And of course, the Lagos SME Bootcamp 3.0 will bring you highlights from that event. And at the global level, the Gavi and quest for vaccines as COVID-19 continues to rage, and the US $1 trillion relief measures being considered. And finally, the thoughts of World Economic Forum founder, Professor Klaus Schwab, calling for a global reset. We begin with the COVID-19 index and countries with major cases. As the novel coronavirus confirmed cases across the globe hits over 16.4 million. The updates currently of nations accounting for the major spikes in the globe and also in Africa comes to the fore. At the global stage, the following countries are the top 10 major contributors to the increase in COVID-19 cases out of 210 countries as at 27th of July 2020. The United States of America continues to lead with over 4 million cases. Brazil with over 2.4 million cases. India has over 1.4 million cases. Russia comes next with over 800,000 cases. South Africa has over 440,000 cases. Mexico with over 390,000 cases. Peru with over 380,000 cases. Chile with over 340,000 cases. Spain has over 319,000 cases. And UK wraps up the top 10 with over 299,000 cases. Those are the top 10 countries in the globe that account for the major spikes in coronavirus. The top 3 countries at the moment remain United States of America, Brazil, and India, countries with huge population and large economies. The top 3 countries with the lowest cases, some of them you've not heard before, are Saint Barth, Saint Pierre-Miquelon, and Anguilla. That's a quiz for you, for those of you that need to learn more about countries across the globe. Let's get on to process charting a pathway for the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, particularly at a time where the issues of addressing recalcitrant debtors and ensuring that we have an effective framework for debt recovery comes to the fore. The first is the new approach, which, of course, is very important. And it highlights that with opportunities for better debtor profiling before loans are granted, a report recently written by Proshin Nigeria, commissioned by Debtors Africa earlier in the year, noted that the domestic loan process can be de-risked by improved borrower knowledge and monitoring. Take note of that. They can be de-risked because of improved borrower knowledge and monitoring. The Debtors Africa report noted that the use of digital registers of borrowers' activity across the financial services sector provides a loan marker which enables new lenders insight into the character of the borrower, which is very important. The new approach would embed a customer's borrowing journey into a digital framework that can be reviewed by lending institutions. The digital register differs from a credit bureau. While a credit bureau provides a scoring system to determine whether a borrower is a fit and proper person to take a loan, the digital register is a dynamic record of strictly delinquent and hardcore borrowers. The record looks at the amount outstanding, the customer address and business, and details of directors if the customer is a company. The register replaces the old perishable name and shame. The online digital register is a quick recourse for base rate references on a prospective borrower's existing credit position. The lender can screen the borrower while also assessing the character of the corporation or individual concerning recent and past loans received. The register could serve as a preemptive tool at the point of loan appraisal, a digital monitor at the point of loan administration, and a loan recovery tool at the point of loan repayment. Just to buttress on that, I believe that this digital register would really help in terms of profiling and for institutions to really track the people who are recalcitrant and unrepentant debtors, because over the years, this has been a major challenge. Remember that we told you that over just about 350 Nigerians account for about 5 trillion of the huge debts that have not been recovered. So you can imagine if we have this digital register in place, it will really go a long way to help address the issues. So let's get on to the going forward. What's the way forward for AMCON from ProShare's analysis? It's very important to know what is important for AMCON to take now as a step. AMCON must evolve and reset its internal and external engagements to ensure better monitoring of loans outstanding and providing clarity of context of the face values of delinquent loans outstanding. The balance on the amount outstanding with the respect to an early bird intervention of 1.7 trillion naira into the banking system and the status of banking sector sinking fund accumulation. AMCON may also need to resolve with the NDIC, that's the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, issues over premium collected by the Depositors Protection Agency on depositor funds that were protected by AMCON at the point of banking system intervention in 2010. AMCON needs to disabuse itself of the unusual notion that taxpayers' funds could be used to write off outstanding delinquent banking sector loan assets. The notion of the use of public funds to resolve private sector financial indebtedness contradicts all known concepts of efficient financial markets. The fiscal treasury is not a reserve of last resort for financial buccaneers. Markets must take care of their own mess. Let me repeat that again. Producer, please help me. Let's take that again. The fiscal treasury is not a reserve of last resort for financial buccaneers. Markets must take care of their own mess. That's a very, very depth word from ProShare for AMCON and its role and responsibility. The markets should be able to resolve their issues. We should not deploy taxpayers' funds to manage these whole issues created by people who have become recalcitrant debtors in the country. We should rather deploy taxpayers' money into more viable activities that will benefit for all citizens. And that's a very clear and very bold step and assertion from ProShare. Let's get on to a very interesting story we have for today, and that's about the value-added tax collection for first half of the year 2020. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, a total sum of 651.77 billion naira was generated in Nigeria. Here are some key points for us to note. It recorded an 8.45% growth year-on-year compared to 600.98 billion naira in first half of the year 2019. Professional services, if you're in professional services, if you're a professional services company, you will need to hear this. Professional services generated the highest amount of value-added tax with 95.92 billion naira. Wow. Professional services are really, really contributing immensely to the VAT and our revenue. Manufacturing sector was the second highest, contributing with a total of 67.63 billion naira. That's the manufacturing sector. While commercial and trading was third with 31.1 billion naira. So professional services number one, manufacturing number two, commercial and trading number three, contributing to a total of 651 billion naira for VAT. 335.82 billion naira was generated as non-import VAT locally in the first half of the year, while 161.74 billion naira was generated as non-import VAT for foreign space. The balance of 154.21 billion naira was generated as Nigerian Customs Service import VAT. That's the NCS for you, customs. So you now know that customs plays a key role in collection and revenues for the country. But let's go on to the more interesting part, which of course is of interest to me. Let's break it down to sectoral VAT collection for first half of the year 2020. I was interested to see some critical sectors and what they brought in to the table. Let's begin with agri and plantation. Agriculture and plantation recorded 1.8 billion naira for first half of the year value-added tax, with 973 million naira in first quarter 2020 and second quarter of 2020 recording 828.8 million naira. A lot has to be done in agriculture because if it's a major driver of the economy, it must translate in the value-added tax. Automobiles and assemblies, yes, that's to do with car and assemblies, recorded 1.27 billion naira in terms of total VAT collection for first half of the year 2020, with 751.5 million naira in first quarter 2020 and 526.3 million naira in second quarter of 2020. That's for the automobiles and assemblies. For the banks and financial institutions in the country, banks, they recorded 10.53 billion naira. Yes, 10.53 billion naira. That's what the banks and financial institutions brought to the table for first half of the year 2020 in terms of VAT collection. 5.4 billion naira was realized in first quarter 2020, while 5.1 billion naira was realized in second quarter of 2020. For breweries, bottling and beverages, they brought in 24.7 billion naira. You heard that, 24.7 billion naira, that's huge. And 14.3 billion naira was realized in first quarter 2020, while 10.4 billion naira was also recorded for second quarter of 2020. That's from the breweries, bottling and beverages. For the building and construction sector, the VAT collected was 5.03 billion naira in first half of the year 2020, with 2.84 billion naira in first quarter of 2020 and 2.19 billion naira in second quarter of 2020. That's for building and construction. For chemicals, paints, and allied industries, this segment recorded below 1 billion naira. That's 955.7 million naira in terms of VAT collected, with 569.02 million naira in first quarter 2020 and 386.7 million naira in second quarter 2020. Conglomerates recorded 2.55 billion naira in terms of total VAT collected in the first half of the year. 1.1 billion naira was realized in first quarter 2020 and 1.48 billion naira in second quarter of 2020. For federal ministries and parastatals, the VAT collected was 12.37 billion naira, with 6.5 billion naira generated in first quarter 2020 and 5.8 billion naira recorded in second quarter 2020. In the area of gas, of course, you know that Nigeria is also deepening its gas activities. The VAT collected was 2.68 billion naira. Yes, 2.68 billion naira first half of the year 2020, and 1.29 billion naira was generated in first quarter of 2020, while 1.3 billion naira recorded in second quarter 2020. Let's go to hotels and catering. First half of the year recorded 3.8 billion naira. You heard that. VAT collected for first half of 2 billion naira in first quarter of 2020 and 1.36 billion naira in second quarter of 2020. Mining, yes, mining generated 127.5 million naira. That's very, very low. Very, very low for mining. Very low. With 61.83 million naira in the first quarter of 2020 and 65.74 million naira in second quarter of 2020. For offshore operations, the amount generated in the first half of the year 2020 was 1.075 billion naira. Yes, with 592.05 million naira in first quarter 2020 and 483.7 million naira in second quarter of 2020. Oil marketing generated 4.32 billion naira in total for first half of the year 2020, with 2.38 billion naira realized in first quarter of 2020 and 1.93 billion naira recorded in second quarter of 2020. Petrochemical and petroleum refineries generated 2.2 billion naira. That's what they generated for first half of the year 2020, with 1.3 billion naira in first quarter 2020 and 118 million naira in second quarter 2020. The pharmaceuticals, soaps and toiletries generated 648 million naira for the first half of the year in terms of VAT collected, with 348.5 million naira in first quarter 2020 and 300.2 million naira for second quarter 2020. For the properties and investments, first half of the year recorded 2.15 billion naira in terms of total VAT collected, with 1.1 billion naira in first quarter 2020 and 1.04 billion naira in second quarter of 2020. Transportation and haulage services generated 20.29 billion naira. Yes, with 7.6 billion naira in first quarter 2020 and 12.6 billion naira in second quarter of 2020. Publishing, printing, and paper packaging generated 884 million naira for the first half of the year 2020, with 552 million naira in first quarter 2020 and 331.4 million naira in second quarter of 2020. Oil producing generated 18.01 billion naira, with 9.35 billion naira in the first quarter of 2020 and 8.65 billion naira in second quarter of 2020. So, for me, just concerned about areas like mining, because that is one place that has to be creating value in terms of diversifying revenue and, of course, VAT collections that is of value for states, mainly across the country. And, of course, we've seen that the impact of the COVID-19 on economies and, of course, the analysis on how sectors are contributing would really, once again, give analysts, investors, business leaders, and indeed the general public the direction of how each sector is creating value for the economy. So those are a snapshot of the VAT first half of the year 2020 collection compiled by National Bureau of Statistics and published on ProShare. Let's go on to Lagos SME Bootcamp 3.0. Of course, stakeholders agreed that effective processes, financial records, communications, brand positioning, and governance are areas that micro, small, and medium enterprises must take seriously if they are to achieve sustained growth. This was part of the key conversations at the third edition of the Lagos SME Bootcamp, which was held via a virtual platform, Zoom webinar, on Saturday, July 25th, 2020. Keynote address was from the CEO of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Council, Mr. Babatunde Rukera, who emphasized that a robust and antitrust processes and structures than their products. He believed that to achieve scale globally, that will be very important. He noted that the regulatory body had a mandate to address issues like multiple standards and advocate for customers, taking actions where necessary, and re-emphasized that that is what they will do. Mr. Yinka Ogunobi, the Group Treasurer of CFAO, in his remarks called on MSMEs to take issues of financials more seriously if they are to attain and achieve sustainability and profitability. He emphasized the need for issues like basic bookkeeping, which is a challenge for MSMEs, effective budgeting processes, and the ability to analyze the expenditure and look at the trends of impacts of macroeconomic factors like inflation and foreign exchange. Mr. Gunumi also highlighted the importance of cash flow management for businesses, as it will help them track cash inflows and outflows and revenue projections. He also said that where there are no accounting tools, Microsoft Excel helps for them to keep financial records and operations. He also emphasized the need for them to value data. Data is very key for MSMEs. For Mr. Tunde Motoye, co-founder of the Human Squad, he believed that communication with customers was very key if the MSMEs are going to make impact. This also calls for proactive steps and prompt decision-making for them to provide best business practices. For Nkiru Olumide Ojo, founder of the Lighthouse Women Network, she challenged businesses to align their brand promise with delivery. It's not just having a big brand or having products, but aligning them with delivery. When you say you're delivering on so date, you must do it. And she said that was what will position MSMEs to be great. She also called on MSMEs to take the step to engage independent researchers and take the concept of go-to-market to boost their brand visibility. Damilare Zakios, founder of OGZ Foundation, said small businesses must integrate social capital in their services. You know, in Nigeria, brands, customers connect with brands that understand them and engage them appropriately. So social capital, very important. Interesting insights from the Lagos SME Bootcamp 3.0. Let's go to the global stage, and of course the debate, the conversation is continuing around vaccines. Why? Because it is believed that when you get vaccines in bulk, in millions, people can begin to say, okay, let's reopen up the full economy. So at the global stage, coordinators of a global coronavirus vaccine funding scheme are looking at a wide range of potential prices for COVID-19 shots, with a reported $40 per dose price tag, the highest number in that range. One of the co-leads of the project said yesterday, Seth Berkley, chief executive of Gavi Vaccine Alliance, which is co-leading the COVAX facility designed to ensure fair global access to COVID-19 shots, said the facility had no specific target price and would also seek to negotiate tiered pricing for richer and poorer countries. Berkley rejected comments from European Union sources last week who said the COVAX facility was targeting a $40 price for COVID vaccines for wealthy countries. The EU sources had said the EU would be seeking to secure cheaper deals outside of the COVAX scheme. COVAX is co-led by Gavi, the World Health Organization, and CEPI Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, and is designed to guarantee fast and equitable access globally to COVID-19 vaccines once they are developed. Its aim is to ensure supplies of 2 billion doses across the countries of the world are secure. 2 billion doses. Our population globally is about 7 billion. And for those who sign up by end of 2021. Gavi said earlier this month that more than 75 countries have expressed interest in joining COVAX. Berkley, who has been at the forefront of this, saying that they are the early testing process and it's too soon to know what the final price will be. But just look at that. $40. I mean, $40. $10, if you look at the adjusted rate in Nigeria, is about 3,800. So if that's the case, we are looking at almost 10,000 if it's $40 for the shot. So I think it's very important. If this whole thing is going to really work, there has to be a model that works for the rich and then the emerging countries, because if you're going to roll out vaccines and it's so costly, when nations are trying to stabilize, it may not really work in terms of impact. So for the Gavi and all the coalition on vaccines, the main word is to ensure that it's affordable and it's qualitative and it has real impact, because if it's not affordable, then it doesn't really make sense. But let's go on to the U.S. Senate. The U.S. Senate Republicans, of course, are the ones in power. Their own Mr. Donald Trump is the president of the U.S. So the U.S. Senate Republicans yesterday announced a $1 trillion coronavirus aid package hammered out with the White House, paving the way for negotiations with the Democrats, who are the opposition party, on a plan to help Americans as expanded unemployment benefits for millions will extend them back to school, employees back to work, and support for a healthcare system grappling with an illness that has killed 150,000 Americans. McConnell said the plan would include some additional unemployment benefits, but did not say how much, and direct payments to Americans of $1,200 each, as well as incentives for manufacturing personal protective equipment for healthcare workers in the United States of America rather than China. America is really ensuring that they protect their own. They don't want to take chances. They want to ensure that it's all done in the U.S., part of the tensions between U.S. and China. Let's go on to the COVID-19 lockdowns. And of course, global thought leader, global economist, very influential personality, Professor Klaus Schwab. For those of you that don't know Professor Klaus Schwab, he is the founder of the World Economic Forum, and annually, business leaders, politicians, economists, analysts, technocrats, industry leaders gather every year in a city called Davos in Switzerland to hold the World Economic Forum. So Professor Klaus Schwab is the man behind that vision, and the World Economic Forum has done so much in terms of research, strategy, and contribution to developing ideas for deepening growth across the globe. So Professor Klaus Schwab has now brought out his own thoughts around this whole COVID-19 impact on the global economy, and is making a strong call. For him, COVID-19 lockdowns may be gradually easing, but anxiety about the world's social and economic prospects is only intensifying. There's good reason to worry. A sharp economic downturn has already begun, he says, and we could be facing the worst depression since the 1930s. But while this outcome is likely, it is not unavoidable. To achieve a better outcome, the world must act jointly and swiftly to revamp all aspects of society and economies. From education to social contracts and working conditions, every country from the United States to China must participate, and every industry from oil and gas to tech must be transformed. For him, in short, we need a great reset of capitalism. That is a catchy word there. Great reset of capitalism. That's for Professor Klaus Schwab. The COVID-19 crisis is affecting every facet of people's lives in every corner of the world, but tragedy need not be its only legacy. On the contrary, the scholar says the pandemic represents a rare but narrow window of opportunity to reflect, reimagine, and reset the world to create a healthier, more equitable, and more prosperous future. He asserts that clearly the will to build a better society does exist, and he calls on global leaders and the entire community to use it to secure the great reset that is so badly needed. That will require stronger and more effective governments, though this does not imply an ideological push for bigger ones, and it will demand private sector engagement every step of the way. Professor Schwab called on governments to implement long overdue reforms that promote more equitable outcomes, depending on the country. This may include changes to wealth taxes, the withdrawal of fossil fuel subsidies, and new rules governing intellectual property, trade, and competition. According to him, the third and final priority of a great reset agenda is to harness the innovations of the fourth industrial revolution to support the public good, especially by addressing health and social challenges. During the COVID-19 crisis, companies, universities, and others have joined forces to develop diagnostics, therapeutics, and possible vaccines, establish testing centers, create mechanisms for tracing infections, and deliver telemedicine. Imagine what could be possible if these concerted efforts were made in every sector. That's from Professor Klaus Schwab, the scholar and founder of the World Economic Forum. So let's drill down to Nigeria. He's talked about countries taking steps. And for me, my take is that this is a great chance for Nigeria to finally sign a holistic petroleum industry bill. So I'm calling on the 9th Assembly, chaired by Senate President Ahmed Lawan, to speed up efforts, pass the petroleum industry bill, and President Muhammadu Buhari to take that bold step to sign it into law, because it's long overdue. That's a reform that we need to see happen that would transform the petroleum industry and have impact even on oil-producing communities who are situated around the Niger Delta zone. Also, this is a time for us to achieve fiscal restructuring. I mean, it's long overdue. As a country, when you look at the model for even federal account allocation, it doesn't make sense again. 52% goes to federal government, 27% goes to state government, 21% to local government. That is not sustainable. But beyond that, we need fiscal restructuring. We need states to begin to take responsibility for issues like mining lease, take charge of issues around even aviation, airspace, take charge around very critical issues on mineral resources where they can tap and also diversify their revenue without going to Abuja to ask for allocation. Also, at this point, we need to really sign the electoral bill, a bill that guarantees more credible elections, a bill that can even provide for independent candidates, a bill that can also deepen digital processes for elections. That's what we need at this time. Also, we need to deepen our technology space in terms of the digital economy. While other countries this period of the COVID were able to continue with their digital classes in universities, Nigeria has been at home, and we can't say how many universities have been able to effect digital classes, maybe the private universities. And that's a challenge because once everything comes back to normal, we may be seeing adversities not catching up with their contemporaries. And so digital economy, digital infrastructure is very important. And I'm calling on the state governments to take the issue of easing the right of way for broadband seriously. Only 3 states have shown that political will: Ekiti State, Kwara State, and Kaduna State. We have 36 states in the country. We want others to join to make it easy and affordable and seamless for investment in broadband technology, which will be the bedrock of our digital economy. Also, at this point, we need to ensure that we balance the new fiscal reform measures with the challenges of the people. What I'm saying is that we don't have to push so much burden on Nigerians. Yes, it's time for reforms, looking at electricity tariff review, looking at the removal of subsidy, even the gas prices, but we have to also watch out reforms that may really, really impact the people. In this period, not so much activities are happening in terms of production. Companies are even carrying out pay cuts. So if you add additional tax burdens to the people, you are gradually pushing them down the ladder. And so this calls for a balance in terms of our fiscal measures to ensure that people are not overburdened with taxes. Because when it comes to tax, right from even for the Christians, for the biblical times, tax has been a form of challenge if it's not well managed. For those that remember the great King Solomon. Now, in terms of reforms, this is also an opportunity for the country to ensure that institutions are strengthened. Nigerians will not be happy that if they are paying taxes, there's lack of accountability in institutions. The spate of corruption allegations, revelations, is a big call for our President, Muhammadu Buhari, to take the bold step to ensure that all those who are found culpable are brought to book. The anti-corruption crusade is good, but when we have people who are made to pay for corrupt practices that has impoverished Nigerians, then we will see a lot of things align. So in this period where we are seeing allegations and unbelievable amounts spent and corruption allegations, the quest for strengthening institutions come to the fore, and this is a great time for Nigeria to take those reforms to ensure that institutions are strong and not people. Because when people are stronger than institutions, it becomes a challenge, and in climes like Africa, that has been the experience. And lastly, the need to drive a pro-people policy approach. In this period, we call for a deepening of the democratic space. We know that a lot of countries do not have that tolerance for a deepened democracy. But Nigeria, like countries like US, UK, are examples of democracies that can really sustain and be deepened. And so in this period, the ruling government and the opposition parties must continue to engage in very constructive manners to ensure that interactions are geared towards national development and not creating rancor. Because when we look at the scores of Nigerians in diaspora who are contributing immensely across the globe, they look back at Nigeria, they want to really contribute, but we back home here must create an enabling environment for them to contribute. And this is to our enabling business environment team for the presidency to encourage them to continue the good work while we call on ministries, departments, and agencies to collaborate, because that is a major challenge. PEBEC is doing their own job, but if the ministries, departments, and agencies are not aligning in their roles, it continues to impede on effective processes for investments and even ease of doing business. But in all of this, we are optimistic that Nigeria can thrive and continue to make impact as we align policies and the necessary reforms at this time. So just a response to Professor Klaus Schwab's call for a great reset. Indeed, Nigeria must not miss this opportunity to reset its political economy. And that will be a wrap for the Economy and Politics show for today. Please send your comments and views to news@prochange.com. Join our website, www.prochange.com, to watch our videos, read our news reports, and analysis. Till we come your way again in whatever political economic debate and conversation you engage, make sure it's constructive and productive. Join us by 10 a.m. for the market review. We will give you developments from the financial and capital market as it relates with the economy. Thank you for watching. Have a nice time and stay safe.